Hello, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm talking about what websites you should be submitting on. Hello, I'm Virginia and I am a filmmaker and actress from Southern California. I live and work in LA and I also have friends and colleagues that live and work in the Los Angeles area. So today I'm going to talk very quickly about what websites you can submit on. Not everybody is in the Los Angeles area, and as I have mentioned in other videos, I wouldn't recommend people who don't have a lot of experience moving to the Los Angeles area either. And there are different ways that you can get work and start submitting for work without having to come to the area, because obviously most of the submissions are now online. Now, I do have other videos with how to build up a profile. Basically, you would have your headshot, your resume, as well as your reel, and you would put that all onto a website. If you're interested in those videos, then I do have those listed down in the description. But right now I'm just simply talking about what websites you would put those profiles on so that you can find work. So one of the main ones, which I like to mention first because it is used by industry professionals, is the website Actors Access. It is also known as Breakdown Services. When you are self-submitting, which is what a beginner actor would be doing, is submitting for their own work, you are self-submitting, and that would be that you are self-submitting on Actors Access. If you were to have an agent who is submitting for you, then they would be submitting you for roles on Breakdown Services. So I like to mention this one first because as you build up in your career, you would eventually have an agent and that person would be able to submit for you on Breakdown Services. And Breakdown Services is the website that has access to bigger projects, which are obviously the goal in the end in terms of TV shows and feature films. Now, unfortunately, if you are self-submitting on Actors Access, which most people are, then you are going to be submitting for smaller projects, independent projects, and vertical shorts, because that is primarily what is on Actors Access right now. There are also some theater jobs on there and some smaller commercials, but it's not as big of a website for that. So basically with Actors Access, you can look at the payments. I won't talk specifically about numbers because sometimes companies do change them, but basically there is a yearly rate, which is actually less than most of the other websites, and there's also a monthly rate. And basically what that entails is you would pay and then you are able to submit to an unlimited number of projects on Actors Access. Now, this does not include your profile. So on Actors Access, you generally get 2 free photos. There is unfortunately no option for free footage, and footage, if you are adding it, is $22 a minute. So something that I will quickly mention in terms of profiles, even though I don't want to go down that road too far, is to definitely make sure that if you are uploading footage, it is footage that is worth it and footage that you feel will be usable for years to come, because you don't want to spend a bunch of money uploading footage that you've paid for and you can't get your money back once you've uploaded it. So you will have to pay $22 per minute for any reel or footage. If you want to add an additional photo, like 3 photos, 4 photos, etc., then I believe they're charging $10 for that. And if you want to add a slate shot, which is easy, not a bad idea if you want to add that, a slate shot will be $5, I believe. So basically theirs is a little bit different system. So you pay to have the service and you can submit to as many jobs as you want, but you will have to pay if you want to put up extra photos or videos. And some people really don't like this, but as far as I can tell from most beginners, they're not gaining a lot of new footage and they are not taking a lot of new headshots. I'm also recommending that you do not take a bunch of headshots if you are first starting out, so make sure to check out my headshot video. Generally, beginners aren't changing out their footage and getting a bunch of great new footage, so I don't really see it as much of a problem. I would say put up the 2 free photos, add a minute or 2 of footage, which will either be $22 or $44, and just start submitting and see what work you can get. Another website that is an option, but not one that I would recommend for actors who've been going for a while, is Backstage.com. So Backstage in the old days used to be like a magazine and it had jobs in the back of it. Like you would flip to the back of the Backstage magazine and they would have jobs. That is no longer the case. There is, I think, there is Backstage magazine, but it doesn't have jobs in it anymore. And the online website is completely just for submitting. So that one has a higher monthly price and you have to pay for it on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, but it costs more than Actors Access. The difference is that you do not pay extra if you're going to add photos or videos. So a lot of people like this because you can put up an unlimited number of headshots and an unlimited number of like video clips or whatever. So that is an option. Now, it does tend to have more extra work, background work, theater, and student films as well. It's up to you if you want to use this one. I did use it early on when I was first getting started. I can't say that I necessarily found a lot of work through it. I would say that if you want to do background work, then you probably should sign up for Central Casting if you are in the Los Angeles and maybe New York area, and I think Atlanta as well. But if you are in a region that is not next to a major city, then yes, you could use Backstage for extra work. But Actors Access also has extra work listed on it. So some people like to do it and book the extra work and then say, we'll see the extra work paid for my whole year of Backstage. It's like a tactic, you know? It just is up to you what you want to do. But the projects on there are definitely smaller projects. Another website you can go with, which has the same pay structure as Backstage, is Casting Networks. Casting Networks primarily does commercials. I do have like a commercial manager, and my commercial manager submits me through Casting Networks. So there are some projects which they submitted me for, which I was submitting myself for as well. And there are also some projects on there which I think only they had access to. So I wouldn't have been able to submit because it was a bigger commercial and they were able to get me that submission. So a lot of the websites have two sides, one for agents with bigger projects and one for self-submissions. Basically, Casting Networks works the same. You pay for the month and it just keeps rolling, and you can put up as many photos or videos as you want and change them out as much as you'd like. I think there are tiers, so I think it's like Plus and Premium, and I believe I have Premium because it didn't really make sense, even though the cheaper one is there, the cheaper option, because my manager is submitting me for things. It just, I don't know, it was cheaper, but it didn't actually allow me to have the things on my profile that I needed to have on there. So I ended up just paying for the more expensive one. But yes, so there are other jobs on there as well. There is background work on all of them. And there are also short films, independent films, and things like that. Actors Access also has new things coming in every day, and that is why I recommend those. I'm not as fond of websites that seem not to have a lot of new projects being updated. And I know quality of project is important, but if there are never any new projects being posted, that's just not very useful for any actor really, but especially a new one. Another one that I will mention is Casting Frontier. Casting Frontier doesn't seem to have any particular type of project. I've seen just about every type on there, including commercials. It doesn't, I guess, have much theater on it, but I also noticed that it doesn't seem to have a lot of new projects being posted, so I don't find it as useful. Sometimes I will see a project that pops up that I am interested in. I don't know, maybe the quality of projects is slightly better, but yeah, I don't know. It's sort of similar to Casting Networks, but I've just noticed that there isn't as much being posted on there at the time. Something I also wanted to mention, which I hear all the time from people who are just starting out and extras, is that they're like waiting and waiting for Actors Access, and they're like, it's not updating, and like there aren't projects coming up. Well, the difference between Actors Access and some of the other websites is that a lot of the other websites are 24/7. So basically, if someone makes a project and clicks submit and says, please have people send in their auditions, it automatically comes up and then people can submit to them. For Actors Access, I'm not sure if they closely screen every type of project that is uploaded, but they definitely only work Monday through Friday. So Actors Access is something, I mean, the schedule is something that I prefer, at least, because you can sort of treat acting more like a job. You go in and maybe you check at 9 a.m. and then you may check again at noon and then maybe at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You know, you don't have to spend hours on it. You just check for 30 minutes and see if there's anything you want to submit for, and then you can go ahead and send that. And on the weekends, you are off. And on holidays, you are off because there are no new projects coming in. But on some of the other websites, they're rolling 24/7, and it just is sort of a first come, first serve. Also, I want to mention that basically when people post something, you should try and submit for it as soon as you see it, not only because it falls back further and further in the queue, but also because they tend to look at early people who are submitting and request tapes from the people who are on the front end of the submissions. Now, if you're looking for a free option, I can't speak to many free options, but one free option is to submit on Facebook. Yes, I know it sounds way out there, but some of my first jobs did come from Facebook. Also, one of the jobs, I only basically ended up booking, I think, one or two things from Backstage. And I can't ever be sure that it was Backstage that got me the job, because I ended up submitting to that project on Backstage and then also on a Facebook page, which was from that university. So I submitted to that project twice, and I'm not really sure where the director saw it first or if they only saw it in one place. But Facebook is an option. There are actors groups. You're going to want to go with more local to you actors groups, basically. Universities that are near you may also have a page where actors can sign up and say, hey, I'm interested in looking for work. And yeah, most of them will have a little questionnaire that they make you fill out before you're accepted into the group, because public groups just get bombarded with spam and weird people who you don't want to submit for. So if it has a few questions at the front end that don't require personal information, then maybe go ahead and join some of those and see if they have any opportunities available. I have to warn you, obviously, to beware of spam and sketchy people, because Facebook is obviously full of them, but there are legitimate people who are hiring on Facebook for different projects. I think it comes and goes, where sometimes there are more projects because the group is smaller and people are more interested in doing projects, and then as spam starts to fill it up, then they sort of fall off and then the quality goes down from there. So you may have to be surfing for new groups to join all the time. Another option, if you don't want to put in a ton of upfront money and you don't think you'll be submitting for more than one or two projects, is to check out Actors Access. As you join it free and you can only put up 2 headshots and you won't have any video, but you can go through all of the jobs. And then if there is a job that you want to submit for, I think you pay a couple of dollars to submit for that job. And then if they send you a self-tape, you will have to pay to send them the self-tape back. Basically, I wouldn't do this for more than really 1 or 2 jobs, because once you've hit $9, you may as well have paid for an unlimited 1 month, and then you could just turn that 1 month off after the month is up, But that is an option if you see something on there that you really want to submit for. Every once in a while, there are open calls for very, very big companies like ABC or NBC. And if you're wanting to submit for one of those, then maybe that wouldn't be a bad option. Another website that I want to mention that is not actually for job submissions, they do have a job submission section, but it really seems to have never taken off, honestly, and that is IMDb. So IMDb, which stands for Internet Movie Database, is something that you will need to look at as an actor. It is not necessarily something that you will need to be active with or claim a profile on, but it comes in handy in different ways. So I actually don't have a claimed profile on IMDb, and something to be aware of with IMDb, as well as some other websites, is that you can upload your photos and your videos and pay them for a few months, but then if you stop paying, especially on IMDb, they will remove those photos from the profile. So in the past, you used to be able to upload the photos and they would just stay. But unfortunately, some time ago, they changed it. And so once you stop paying them, all your photos disappear. And the reason that big movies don't have this issue is because they're sort of archival, So their photos and things can stay up there, but it just doesn't work that way for us regular individuals. Basically, as you do more projects, you will eventually have an IMDb page that will be yours, and you'll know it's yours because you will have worked on all the projects that are listed under your name. More than likely, there will be multiple people who have your same name, so you just have to figure out which one is you, and you will know which profile is technically yours to claim. Now, if you do pay for IMDb, then another upside to having it is that you can go and you can look at the production companies, and you can look at the casting directors who are on different projects, even projects that have not been completed yet. And often they will have emails. On a lot of the major big projects, sometimes a lot of the emails have been removed, but you may be able to find some people who just leave their email address up there. So if you want to submit directly to casting directors, sorry, my voice is totally going out. If you want to submit directly to casting directors, agents, producers, etc., then sometimes you can go on there and you can find their email address, and then you can shoot them an email. So those are some of the websites that I would recommend. There may be some that are local to you, so just start asking around and talk to other actors who are in your area and see if there is anything that is coming up. I know that you will probably want reel. If you're doing something like a student film, make sure to ask them when their project is due, and that will give you a better chance of being able to actually get the footage from them. Unfortunately, you will not be able to get the footage from every project you do, even though I know that that can be very disappointing. And sometimes you are supposed to be paid in the footage, basically, because if you're starting out, you may be an unpaid actor, but usually they say that they will feed you and they will give you your reel. So hopefully you can get better footage as you keep going. But even if they don't give you reel, remember that you can always put the project on your resume because you did play the part. If you have any questions for me, let me know and I will try and answer them as best that I can. If you are interested in some of my other videos, I definitely do have other videos down in my description. I would like to eventually do live streams so that I can answer questions live, and I need 50 subscribers to do that. So we're just starting out, and if you could subscribe, that would be very helpful to the channel so that I can one day live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you soon.